Do you ever feel like you're just not good at flossing? Well, you know what they say, practice makes perfect. So let's start practicing. My name is Kelly, and you're watching Burst TV. Last week, Sam explained why flossing matters. Today, I'm going to show you how to floss without absolutely hating it. Now, let's acknowledge that not everybody is able to use string floss. Oh, believe me, we get it. I'm a dental hygienist and I recommend all other interdental ways to floss your teeth. But as an expert in oral care, I'm going to show you the ideal flossing technique. It'll not only leave you squeaky clean interproximal, it means between teeth, you'll also be left with less nasty germs in your mouth that also destroy your immune system. First, you're going to grab a generous amount of floss. This is going to be one side for your clean, like I'm doing right now, wrapping around my finger on one side, and then your other side is going to be your dirty side. Then you're going to very gently seesaw back and forth until you get right in between the teeth. You're going to gently hug each side of the tooth, making a C shape. The most common mistake is when people just snap it up and down. They're not taking the time to hug each side of these teeth, which is where a ton of plaque and food debris like to hide. So it looks kind of scary when you first kind of go up your gum line and the floss disappears, but do not worry. Just gently seesaw it up as far as you can until you feel soft resistance from your gums. Tip: when you're flossing your very back molars, shift your lower jaw to the side you are flossing and slightly close. This allows you to get all the way in the back. And even though the very back molar does not have an adjacent tooth, floss it. If you have really tight contacts, which means your teeth touch so tightly that it's so hard to get the string in between your teeth, you're going to gently seesaw back and forth until you get into that space so you don't brutally obliterate your gums. Most of the time, that snapping action is what honestly makes your gums bleed, not necessarily the floss itself. It's just that force when you're forcing it in between your teeth. Sometimes if your contacts are too tight, it can shred your floss apart. That's why it's really important to get floss that has woven fibers, so it's really hard to shred. First Expanding Floss has 300 plus woven fibers, which really helps to be shred resistant. Moving on to if you have braces, a water flosser is where it's at. Gently trace along your gum line and it will blast off all the food and plaque in between your braces. You can also use a floss called Super Floss, which has a hard tufted end. At the other part, it's almost spongy, so it catches all the food debris in between your braces and your bracket. There's also a blue floss threader that you can use traditional floss with and loop it around. There's a floss pick that I have used in the clinic that's called Platypus, and part of the floss pick is bendy, so it's able to go right underneath your bracket and get in between teeth. If you have wide spaces in between your teeth, make sure you're really fluttering the floss back and forth and still wrapping that C shape around both sides of the tooth to make sure that there's no food debris or plaque in between teeth. That can almost be one of the most problem areas if you have too big of a space because food gets caught there very easily. If you have sensitive gums, I always recommend a water flosser on the lowest mode. This really helps massage your gums to get them tough and also to make sure you're using that electric toothbrush with the bristles right up against the gums at that 45-degree angle to just constantly be very lightly touching them. Your gums are supposed to be touched and maneuvered with your bristle and with your floss. I think people think, oh, if my gums are bleeding in a spot, I want to not touch it. That is absolutely the opposite of what we want to do. We want to touch and clean and manipulate where your gums are bleeding. So if your gums are bleeding everywhere, you need to be flossing one time every single day. Best time is to floss right before you go to bed. And then with our toothbrush bristles, the best way to alleviate gum sensitivity is your electric toothbrush will have a sensitivity mode. There's 4 quadrants in your mouth and it's gonna buzz for 30 seconds on each 4 quadrants to make sure that you're touching all your gums equally. Make sure you come back next week. Melissa's going to be diving into flossing euphoria. Yes, that is a thing and I cannot wait to hear more about that. And leave a comment down below to tell me your flossing win or struggle. I want to hear about it. Bye guys.